Good morning. So this section, solving quadratic equations by factoring and by using the quadratic formula, it is in the same chapter we're working on, but it is not on this test that we will now be taking Monday. So it will begin the next unit. I'm not putting it on this next test. So we're just going to go through some of these examples. And this is one of those sections that's really great for you all before you graduate and or begin to take an entrance exam at one of your schools that you're going to go to. Not all schools require it, but some do, like a placement exam. And this is just going to refresh some of those algebraic skills that we just need to keep fresh and strong. So example 1, let's multiply x plus 4 times x plus 7. So when we multiply, we just need to multiply. We want to end up multiplying everything by everything else. And I usually just take the first one and I distribute the x to both of those, and then I'll distribute the 4 to both of those. And this is where a binomial times a binomial, we sometimes use that acronym FOIL. So first times first, plus the outer, plus the inner, plus the last. And then you go through and you look to see if you've got some like terms you can add together. Example 2. We're going to do 2x minus 1 times x plus 3. And I'm not going to FOIL, I'm just going to say I'm going to distribute this binomial times all these, or that binomial. So 2x times x is 2x to the second. 2x times 3 is plus 6x. And then I'm done with the 2x, so we'll multiply with the negative 1 times the x. And negative 1 times 3. And then we'll combine like terms. So that's multiplying. Well, the opposite of multiplying is factoring with binomials. And if we have a trinomial, like we ended up with in this answer, we can factor it to get it back to being written as the product of two binomials, which is how this problem, example 2, began. So, example 3, what if we want to factor x squared plus 6x plus 8? Well, if you were here, we factored using x method, where we did a times c at the top and b at the bottom, and we used the general formula ax squared plus bx plus c. So a is 1, b is 6, and c is 8. So when we use the x method, a times c is 1 times 8 at the top, b is a 6 at the bottom. We wanted factors that, I always take a clue from this trinomial. This last sign tells me so much. I want factors that add to a 6, and both of my signs are going to be pluses. So, whoops. I didn't do that right. Let me erase that. I want numbers that multiply to 8 and add to my 6, and both of them are pluses. Adding, and both are pluses. So I list the factors of 8, 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. And 2 and 4 are the ones that work for both. They multiply to 8 and they add to 6. And the trick was, if a was a 1, then these were our answers right here. It was just x plus 2, x plus 4. Now, if you came from a different school, you might have just factored by grouping, factored by guess and check, and that's great too. You might have just said, all right, I got 2 binomials. I'm going to take x and split it up in these first spots. I'm going to take factors of 8 and split it in these last. Let's try 1 and 8. And you said, well, that gives me 8x, and that gives me 1x. That's 9x. That's not what I needed. Let's check a different factor of 8. Let's use 2 and 4. That gives me 4x. That gives me 2x, which is 6x, which I wanted. So you can get your answer that way too. Does not matter to me how you do it. Let's do another. X squared minus 6x minus 16. So A times C would be 1 times negative 16. B would be negative 6. And with that sign being a minus, we're going to subtract, and we use different signs. So I want factors of 16 that subtract to negative 6. So these are the two that subtract and give me a 6. And if I want it to be a negative, I need the bigger number to be the negative. So negative 8 times 2 gives me negative 16, and negative 8 plus 2 gives me negative 6. And since A is a 1, these are my answers. X minus 8, X plus 2. So hopefully that came back to you okay, and you get to practice some of those, which are the nicer ones, because A is 1. And then we get to some where A is not 1. Example 5. Let's do 3x squared plus 17x plus 10. Too bad there's not a GCF that I can factor out, but there's not. So A times C at the top, B at the bottom. We want to get two numbers that add to positive 17, so we're going to have positives here. Factors of 30, 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, 4 doesn't go, 5 times 6, 6, I already got 6, so I know I have them all. And which set of these adds up to the 17? These two. But since A was not nice, A is not a 1, A is a 3, we have to go one more step. If you're coming straight from Algebra 2, I have a shortcut for you that you might not have done last year, because we were factoring last year. The focus was that you learned how to factor by grouping, so you did something different. But here's the shortcut. We're going to divide both of our answers here by 3. If it divides evenly, like 15 divided by 3 is 5, I use the 5. If it doesn't, I use the 2/3. So my answer is x plus 2/3 and x plus 5. Last step, this feels like it's cheating, is we'll take this 3 that's in the denominator and put it right there in front of the x and call that 3x plus 2 and x plus 5. The reason that's okay is if you took x plus 2/3 and set it equal to 0, you'd get negative 2/3. And if you took the 3x plus 2, which I'm saying you can do, set it equal to 0, you'd minus 2, and then you divide by 3, and you also get negative 2/3. So these two forms here are equivalent, and we'd just rather see it like that. So all you do is take the bottom and put it in front of the x. Alright, I think I have one more of these we can do. Let's see. I'm not great at making them up. I'll try. Let's do 2x squared. Don't write this yet. Let me see if I think it's going to work. Let me change that 5 to an 1. that work? Let me think. I think so. I think this works. We'll see. So we're going to try to factor this. A times B at the top. B at the bottom. Factors of 20. I always start with 1. 1 times 20. 2 times 10. 3 doesn't work. 4 times 5. 5 times 4, but I already have the 5. So we got them all. And the hint is this. It's a minus, so we want to subtract. So we subtract, and when we subtract, we have different signs. So I'm going to subtract these two and get a positive 1. So my 5 has to be the positive. So that works to multiply to 20, and it works to add to the 1. But A was a 2, so you have to divide both of these by 2. And 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So you get x plus 5 halves and x minus 2. Except we don't like 5 halves, we'd rather it be up here as 2x plus 5 and x minus 2. Alrighty, so give this factoring a try. If you want, you could save it till Monday night as the homework after your test. Or if you want nothing to do Monday night, you can go ahead and knock it out today. But your main objective is to practice for your test on Monday.